Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN TV Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
The truth of the matter is, we have succeeded as a people to legitimize illegalities. We have chosen to always play a politics of convenience. Unfortunately so. Because if democracy is to be followed to the latter, then a lot of the shenanigans we see in Nigerian policies will not even take place. It is for the fact that political bad behaviors are rewarded in this country. And so people keep on doing the same wrong thing. That was why the polity saw the rise and fall of the likes of Lamidi Adedibu in Oyo State, where we had the infamous Amala and Ewedu politics, where somebody sat down in the comfort of his home to write names of who will be governor, deputy governor, chairman of councils or assembly members, promoting strong men over above institutions. And so that is why people do not fear the courts. That is why people will tell you that they will win elections and they will not tell you to go to court. It is only in this climb that you hear somebody encouraging another person who of course has been injured, whose rights have been injured, to go to court. Because they believe, number one, that the courts have become toothless, and in fact they can even afford to delay justice for 4 years, for 5 years, and nothing will happen. Now, clearly speaking, there was the appointment of a sole administrator, we all know, on March 18th of this year. Democratic institutions were suspended in Rivers State. A sole administrator was appointed, and then that sole administrator on March the 25th of this year dissolved all appointees of the elected governor of the state, and by so doing also dissolved the duly constituted and independent state electoral commission. And now, having done so, it simply tells you that every activity of that body under Justice Enebeli is gone for good. And so whoever comes on board must have to start on a clean slate. Do not also forget the fact that on March the 28th, when the Supreme Court took a decision, part of the reasons for nullifying the local government elections conducted on October the 5th, 2024, was that Justice Enebeli's commission did not follow the provisions of the Electoral Act. And some persons argued that the Electoral Act has nothing completely to do with the functions of state independent electoral commission. But the Supreme Court upheld the judgment of Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court Abuja, which demanded and requested that the RSIEC complies with Section 28 of the Electoral Act 2022. So what are we talking about? 90 days notice for you to conduct elections. 3 days ago, the INEC restated the fact that you cannot issue a 21-day notice as a state independent electoral body and then go ahead conducting elections. And they cited examples with the FCT council elections where they had in fact given notices a year ago. Election is not an event. Even a birthday party, you would need some form of planning. I mean the birthday party of an individual. Talk more of an exercise that requires millions of persons, that requires that some kind of data will have to be uploaded, and so persons will have to be carried along, institutions will have to be carried along. It is not something you can do in 21 days, obviously. And then they lie and the deceit of trying to tell us that you are only continuing or you just revise the schedule that was released or the timetable released by the previous, it cannot hold water. It cannot hold water because the man who decided to dissolve and sack those who were duly appointed as INEC commissioners for Rivers State had no confidence in them, and so whatever they did is gone for good. And so whoever comes to take over from them must have to start on a clean slate. Now, outside of this, part of the reasons for the nullification of the elections, local government elections in Rivers State the last time, was that there was no update of voters register. And I ask a simple question: has there been an updated voters register for Rivers State? Maybe I do not know. Maybe I'm living in an animated world. I do not know what's happening in Rivers State. Has there been? If there has been, then why not? We can go ahead. But there hasn't been. And the court says so, that you must have to comply with XYZ conditions before you can hold valid elections. And the Supreme Court says so. Do not forget that every Supreme Court judgment becomes law. You must have to understand this. The Supreme Court has said there must be an updated voters register by the wordings of the February 28th judgment of the Supreme Court, which nullified. We cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time. And so we are only arguing that whereas the Supreme Court of Nigeria has said this, that, this, and that these were the reasons for nullifying those October 5th elections, why would we now continue on the same path that will lead us nowhere? And we are saying that it will amount to a waste, another round of wastage of taxpayers' money. It is only in this climate again that people can wake up one morning, have very beautiful nonsense as plans, use it to siphon public funds, and nothing will happen. And so I see this so-called exercise as another plot to siphon public resources. The only argument they have put out there is that the RSIEC now, as presently constituted, even though I see them as being illegal, because some of the persons there are card-carrying members of the PDP, and we had proven so before the 2023 elections. In fact, some of them wore GDI uniforms, and so we are carrying campaign materials. And such persons were made collation officers, returning officers by INEC during the last elections. So we are not surprised that they have now been promoted. And so it simply means that the nonsense can now continue at even a larger level or pedestal, if you like. And so we cannot keep on massaging people's egos because we don't, or we want to sound politically correct. I cannot sound politically correct when I know that what you're doing is nonsensical, that what you're doing makes no sense at all, and that what you're doing is against the rules of the game. It's against the Electoral Act, which the Supreme Court latched on to nullify elections in Rivers State.
What we are interested in is for the RSIEC, the umpires. Remember, RSIEC is the umpires to conduct the election. And it's RSIEC that will determine whether the election will be free, fair, and credible. So as long as the RSIEC, they have given us their word that they are going to do that, as long as they will keep to their words and conduct a free, fair, and credible elections, Rivers people will come out and vote. And then as long as the vote counts, then we are going to have democratically elected chairman and councillors in the various LGAs. And that's what we are interested in. It's not about the state of emergency or what. We are interested in RSIEC doing the right thing, giving up us the level playing ground, which they have assured us that they will do. And then once they do that, we are sure we are going to come out victorious in the election. As a party, election is not a do or die affair. We are only going there to select leaders. We should come out that day, go and vote, stand there, defend your vote, not in a violent way, but in a way that is in alignment with the laws. From the stakeholders meeting, what the RSIEC briefed us, they said they are only continuing from where the previously considered RSIEC, what the timetable, the previous RSIEC body gave a date for 9th of August. So this new considered RSIEC body is still working with that same date, but they only postpone it to 30th to give parties more room to prepare. So I believe that every political party that is going into elections is supposed to have been preparing before this time, knowing that the election day have been announced prior to this time. Over 6 months ago or 5 months ago, election day have been announced that the election will take place on the 9th of August. So people should have been prepared. And anybody that is saying they are not prepared or going into litigations is their own cup of tea.
Inside the Niger Delta,